Chapter 44. Before the Storm. All was quiet. It suddenly struck me. I'd never really considered it before. I had never had a reason to. It was such a small and inconsequential thing. Something that rarely happened in our modern world. Maybe because few ponies had enough around them who gave a shit. Maybe because most saw it as a waste of time, a figment of the old world. A tradition that died with everything else that used to be before the mega spells put an end to it all. And yet, here I was. And now that I was here, helping Ultrix pay her respects and final farewells, I had to ask why. Why had I never seen a funeral before? We had brought Matricula outside at Ultrix's insistence. I think she wanted her mother to be buried under the sky the changelings had long thought they would never see. Using both our magic and some recovered tools, we dug a deep hole just outside of the hive's entrance that would serve as a sufficient resting place. We had all been quiet throughout. Ultrix didn't even have it in her to cry anymore. I could feel my own unease being shared by the others, all directed at Ultrix's soul-crushing despair. But we were there for her. What else were we to do? I'd never buried my own parents. Thinking back on it now, after seeing this display, I can't help but feel some shame towards that fact. I mean, yeah, we didn't exactly get along. I had never heard the words, "I love you," or "we're proud of you" from them. I was a piece of equipment, after all. An extra horn to add to their expeditions. I had a reason for coming into existence, and paternal affection wasn't anywhere on that list. But at the end of the day, they were my parents. I'd left their bloodied bodies out in the Equestrian wasteland after the raider attack claimed them, liable to then be picked on by birds and other wild animals. It was the same tired old story, probably told by most scavengers out here today. My existence before my friends likely would have also ended somewhere in the same vein. I never would have gotten that home I'd always dreamed of, but rather been cursed to the same daily routine again and again until something finally put an end to me. Would I have brought a child to the world just to facilitate that unreachable goal? Would I have left them as embittered about their memory as I had been about my own mother and father? What could have been different? And in the end, did they really deserve being left to the elements? But funerals scarcely existed anymore. I was glad Matricula got to be the exception. I stood close to Xena as we watched Ultrix crouch down by her mother, whispering things unheard to us before the changeling mare's still features were finally fully covered by the blanket that she'd been wrapped up in. Ultrix's horn lit up, the green glow taking around the obscured body, and shakily started to lift her. She didn't go far, Ultrix visibly starting to shake again as her breaths started to deepen. I lit my horn, letting my pale aura join her own. Cobalt was a short distance behind, our three magics interwinding as we helped her lift Matricula through the air and lower her gently down into the grave. From there, we all helped as we started to refill the grave with the dirt that we had previously removed, keeping the work up until Matricula's body was fully concealed and the grave was filled. The final task was the headstone. It was a basic, smoothed-out rock that Cobalt had spent the last few hours working on with his magic, also ensuring to etch Matricula's name and dates into it. With the stone put into place, Matricula had been put to rest. Altric sniffed.
She would like being out here. The first changeling to be buried in a long time. We had to cremate Dad. Like the others.
The curse of being in a fallout shelter for 2 centuries.
She appreciates the sentiment. I know it to be true.
Xena comforted the mare with a side hug.
You have done her justice, and more than earned her pride. I hope so.
We'll get the rest of them back, I assured my friend. You know I'm not going to let Kronos get away with this. We just need a plan as to how we're getting in, Cobalt pointed out. You're the smart one. I'm hoping you'll have a couple of ideas, I said back at him. I'm all for killing every one of those bastards on sight, but I'm hoping for a plan that's a little more survivable than that.
Aww,
Moonblossom complained. Well, I have a couple of brainstorms, Cobalt confirmed, but we can talk about it later. I'm going to go and rattle around some plans in the meantime. Come join me in the Overmare's office when you want to figure this out. With that, Cobalt turned and started to make his way back into the hive.
Do you really think we have a chance of getting in without the hive's help?
Altrix asked. We've made it this far, I said encouragingly. A solid plan and making sure we stick together, that's all we need.
And in cities, we'll probably kick that bird's kneecaps in when we spring her,
Moonblossom said with a laugh.
I am more concerned with what is mentioned about the mother,
Xena said, in reference to the conversation between the goddess and Kronos.
From what we understand about Stable 84's history, it would suggest...
I know, I tersely replied. We'll come to that, if it's what we're thinking it might mean. But until we know for sure, the changelings are our priority.
Well, then I'd say let's just get on with figuring out what we're going to do about all that,
Moonblossom suggested.
As smart as Cobalt claims he is, I'd like to be there when he makes these plans. You know, to make sure it doesn't go to shit. And I'm sure your insight will be most valuable,
Xena said, only half sarcastically.
You know it,
she said, oblivious to Xena's tone. But out of the blue, the Pegasus's cocky smile collapsed into one of uncertainty.
But seriously, if we do this, it'll make it all worth it, right? I mean...
I nodded. It will. Or at least, I hope it will.
Whether we fail or not, it is ultimately the right thing to do,
Xena stated. Moonblossom nodded back, remaining silent for a moment as she bit her lip. She looked away from us, looking up at the sky with a distant expression. A little bout of concern started to bubble in me at her sudden change in demeanor, but it was eventually broken by her sigh.
It's all I've ever wanted to do, you know. Do good. I actually am starting to feel like it's more than just pretending, too.
I frowned. You felt like you were pretending?
I was a raider, Scrapper. Born that way. I guess part of me believed there was no way I could ever leave that life, but now... I know I talk a lot of shit, do a lot of shit, but... I just want to be a good pony. You're not pretending,
Altric said, walking up to and standing alongside her.
I know how much you've been wanting to change. We all do. And I think you're a good pony.
Moonblossom gave her a smile.
That means a lot, kiddo. Come on. Let's see what the egghead's up to.
The duo turned, following Cobalt's hoofsteps back into the cave. This left only me and Xena.
I used to hate her,
Xena said, somewhat to my bemusement.
Do you recall that stunt she pulled?
When she tried to get me into a bed? I deadpanned. Kinda hard to forget. It was, 2 weeks ago?
13 days.
Close enough.
And yet, despite her grating attitude, she has grown on me. As they all have,
she said, her face falling.
I do not wish to lose any of them.
What makes you think we will?
It is a miracle we have not,
she retorted.
And for what we have already been through, tomorrow is a new mystery. And Haven may be the most dangerous place of all we have ever traversed.
Slaver Central, I quietly agreed. Remember how we met?
I do believe I rendered you unconscious.
I blushed. Yeah, that. Still seems forever ago, right? She hummed.
That it does. And yet it also feels like we are approaching an ending.
I knew what she meant. Everything we'd been through seemed to have been shepherding us towards this point. And now, we'll get out of this, I decided. I don't want this to be our last night alive.
And what if it is destined to be?
You believe in destiny?
It is something many zebras would confirm. Myself, usually no. But sometimes I do fear, Scrap.
I sighed, my gut tightening as I saw flashes of all the many ways that I could get my friends killed in the next days. But I also knew all the things we had to live for. Cobalt going back to Tenpony and making the mistakes of his organization right. Ultrix helping her people lead their new lives. Moonblossom proving to the Equestrian wasteland just how far from a simple raider she had evolved. And then there was Xena and I want to come back, I finally said to her. All of us. Me and you, in this hive, a future. Maybe a foal someday? She laughed.
You speak of far-off things. But one day, perhaps.
I smiled between my once again red cheeks. Well, it's a thought. But if this is it... She leaned her head into mine. And there we stayed, locked together. Just us. My heartbeat seemed to steady, and my nerves evaporating, if only for the moment. Here and now, this is what I wanted. This is what I had to come back to. It just felt right. And if this was going to be our last night, we may as well make it one to cherish. Xena shared my small, happy smile as we made our way up to the Overmayor's office sometime later. The others had probably been working the entire time, and we could hardly slink off forever. No matter how much we wanted to stay by each other's side, nuzzling up to one another peacefully after having our fun. It had honestly been even better the second time. Less awkward and with more certainty, perhaps. I don't know. But it had been the best I'd felt in a while. But with a quick shower and a change back into our gear, We knew our friends needed us. Stepping up and into the office, we found that Cobalt was busy typing away on Insidious' terminal with a rather determined look on his face. Ultrix was nearby, distracting herself from whatever she was feeling by writing down notes and sharing the occasional words with the unicorn. Moonblossom, meanwhile, seemed to be sitting on the corner rather idly. She looked to be lost in her own thoughts, absent-mindedly sharpening her knife as her eyes looked to be elsewhere. "Anything good?" I asked aloud, catching all of their attention. "Nice of you two to join us," Cobalt remarked. "To answer your question, good might be a stretch, but our ideas are at least serviceable, on paper. I'll take it. I don't suppose just walking in is on the agenda. Well, not unless you want to be picked off and have Site B sealed up before we can get inside."
We have infiltrated their ranks before,
Xena pointed out. "That had occurred to me," Cobalt responded. "But after last time, Kronos will probably have taken steps to ensure it does not happen again. Ultrix would obviously have the best chance, but I guarantee the rest of us will be recognized far more easily now." "All right," I started. "I'll bite. What's the alternative?"
Well, we were thinking...
Ultrix began to answer for him.
Do you guys remember the subway?
Ah, right. We used it to get back to Haven before, to escape Kronos the first time, I recalled. You think we could use it again? I'm not saying it won't be guarded, but it's a safer bet than trying to go in on Hoof, or Celestia forbid the air.
I hate to admit it, but he's right. The Sky Bandit will get ripped to shreds if it gets too close,
Moonblossom supported.
We had a close shave when the Steel Rangers and Stripes took potshots at us. It'll be that times a million.
But we can probably take it to Prosperity, under the assumption that that's less guarded, Cobalt concluded. I didn't see the slavers having much of an interest in that place, but still. We should probably park a little ways away from the town, just to be safe. Cobalt nodded. I agree, but from Prosperity, we can take the next day moving through the metro system back up to Haven. We'd have to carefully clear any patrols that might be hypothetically in there before they raise the alarm, but it's plausible.
From there, I would assume sneaking into the facility will be required,
Xena inquired. Pretty much. Insanely risky, I know, but without any support to back us up in a fight, it's the best we've got.
But we can free my hive when we're in. I think they can help us as well.
The swarm of pissed-off changelings? I bet. Kronos mentioned packing them into a warehouse, probably shielded to keep them in. I doubt any slaver even enters, Cobalt observed. They probably use those purple alicorns to teleport food in and teleport any changeling out. But if we can open it up, the hive can swarm out into Site B, I noted. That is the idea. It'll be sufficiently hard for any slaver or Talon to contain. I'm not saying that there won't be casualties, but most of the hive could probably rush them and get out before they really knew what was going on, especially within cities there.
But then we need to make Kronos go boom,
Moonblossom saw fit to add in, having seemingly returned to her usual upbeat and confident attitude.
So I suggested, what about those big exploding things that every pony back when thought was such a good idea to use for power?
In more eloquent terms, highly classified research facilities with such dangerous materials, such as taint, will likely have held a kill switch, a self-destruct system designed to prevent the substances from getting out. We flick that, the balefire reactor overloads, and Haven goes up in a mega-spell detonation. Taking out any hope for the modified potion and all but annihilating Red Eye's operations in this region, I mused. It seemed fitting to finish those fuckers off with balefire. I like it.
It'll give that DJ something to talk about,
Moonblossom eagerly agreed. But, taking another page from Buckingham, maybe we could step it up, I added in. Assuming the big if of getting inside without getting shot at. Cobalt, think you could work your magic and get some of their security bots on our side? He shrugged. I mean, assuming we can find the appropriate security station. And given the nature of the facility, I could do even more than that, theoretically. Camera systems, for example, doors. The options will be more substantial than in a simple factory. Then, if we get that far, you can be our eyes and ears, I decided. If whatever place we find doesn't have the ability to spring the changelings, we'll also need someone to do that while the rest of us work on blowing the place up.
I can do that. I think it'll be best. They're my people, and some of them might be hurt.
Altrix spoke up. I nodded. All right, then that's your job, if need be. Which leaves me, Stripe, and Moonblossom to go and make sure those bastards don't do this to any other creature ever again. It's still heavily liable to not go as we intend, Cobalt cautioned. We know nothing about Site B's overall layout, what kind of defenses we can expect. I know. I think we all know the risks. These are far more than mere raiders, and we don't have Steel Ranger support. And the last time we faced Kronos in person?
Not to mention the giant evil mutant alicorn things,
Moonblossom supplemented. Yeah, those. But we do have a plan. We found each other through random chance and circumstance, but I wouldn't trade any of you as my friends for Equus itself. Fuck the odds, I know we can do this. I know we can win. If Kronos wants a rematch with me, then I'm damned happy to give him one. As I finished, blood pumping fast through my brains with my heart pounding in anticipation for what we were about to do, with Xena already standing resolutely at my side, my other friends all glanced between one another at my declaration. But, for which I would eternally be thankful towards them, I couldn't spot any hesitation. Well, my mission from the Twilight Society was to find and recover Site B and its contents from Stable 84, Cobalt began. I will settle for making sure that Red-Eye and the Goddess cannot have it. It's what Twilight would, and I'm sure does, want me to do. If she is still fighting them against all odds from the inside, then I am not about to fail when I can do something from here.
Won't they be mad?
Moonblossom asked with a chuckle. Oh, yeah. But I know more than a few who will support my decision. Homage, Life Bloom. I will be fine. What the rest think does not matter.
Good to know. Then I won't feel bad for wrecking their toys,
the Pegasus said with a giant grin.
Let's go save us some changelings.
I gave them both a nod and a smile, my look finally settling upon Altrix. For once, I couldn't see any pain in them, nor could I see her innate shyness. More than ever, I knew she was determined to come with us.
Mom would want to help you in any way that she could,
the changeling stated.
I can too. The princess trusted me to help you, and you've all been so good to me. Even when it was too much, you guys were there. I'm glad you're the first surface dwellers I met. It gives me hope that one day things might be all right again.
Here they were, my friends. My reason for being. And the reason that Kronos didn't stand a fucking chance. I didn't know how this would end. I didn't know if I would die doing what we were about to do. I had to hope not. That as always we would escape by the skin of our teeth. That at the end of all of this, we would stand together in a wasteland that, for all it was worth, was slightly less broken than it had been before. Yeah, I was scared to death. But we would do this anyway. Because after everything, that's who we had become. Not heroes. Just people doing the right thing. To the very end.